Welcome to Spotlight Talks, a new podcast from the Central London Careers Hub, shining a light on those connecting the industry of today with the workforce of tomorrow. So I'm joined today by Rita Patel Miller, the Global Service Lead for Social Value at Mace. Rita, pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you, Connor. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So I thought we'd start with your own career journey and how you got into the construction industry in terms of and how social values developed. Give us a sense of what that journey has been like for you.
Yes, of course. So my career started at the age of 16, actually. So I left school early. I kind of thought I was ready to leave education, putting it, I suppose, mildly, and thinking I really want to get a job and really want to work. And I think that was really driven by, I was brought up in a single parent family. My father had passed away when I was 3. So I think I'd always seen my mum work and my siblings work, really. So I think there was always that desire to get out and earn and do and contribute really to the household. So I left school when I was 16, and I joined the civil service. So I joined as an administrative assistant, and it was great actually working in the civil service because there was the opportunity to learn and earn as well. So I suppose it was your traditional apprenticeship style kind of opportunity. So I studied at Walsall College, and I started to work at the time it was called, showing my age now, the DHSS, and I worked there and carried out a job as an administrative assistant. And then I very quickly got promoted to an administrative officer. And then my journey started where I sort of kind of worked with helping people. So I used to work with unemployed people, helping them into employment and work. I think the thing that really, I suppose, working on from there was being a woman, being of an Asian sort of ethnicity. It was difficult in those time and ages of, dare I say, discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it almost kind of spurred me on to sort of pursue my career and not let the fact that I was an Asian female become an excuse, but it became an opportunity. So, and then I did really well in the civil service. I got promoted into being a job centre manager, and then a more of a regional manager, and had some really good projects to work on. One of those being the new bull ring in Birmingham, and then that kind of set the wave of working in the private sector. It was always an ambition of mine to say, before I reach a certain age, I'd like to go and try out work in the private sector. So I joined Lend-Lease at that time. And I do remember, I worked with Lend-Lease and we were working on a big bid. I joined them as a business and community manager. And I kind of remember thinking, I've left the civil service, kind of that comfort and security blanket, working in the private sector. And if we don't win this bid, maybe that might mean I don't have a job. So that was a bit interesting, actually. But it was a really great opportunity, and it was the start of working with young people as well, and education, and really starting to, because the first project that we won as Lend-Lease was the Building Schools for the Future programme.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And one of the ambitions of our client, Birmingham City Council, was that young people benefit from the construction or having a new school or having work done to their school. So it was really great to start looking at innovative ways, and I think it was called the Business Education Partnership at the time, and working again in partnership with them to reach young people in schools and look at different ways that we as business could engage with young people and help them into work placements and apprenticeships. So I think that was, and I found that really exciting, and also helped me to sort of reflect on my personal journey, really, in terms of what careers was like for me, in terms of, I suppose at that time I was thinking, I want to be a doctor, but the fact that I wasn't really very good with my sciences and biology probably meant that, it probably wasn't the right thing for me to do. But actually what I did know is I enjoyed working with people and networking and presenting and communicating. So I think looking at those skills now, it was kind of clear that those are the kind of jobs that would be, appeal to me, and jobs that I would do good at and enjoy. So I think that was kind of what sort of encouraged me to work with young people to help them find that career pathway, but also to know that it's okay to not know what you want to do at that age, really, but giving them lots of choices so they could think, actually, this is, and I suppose the opportunity to try things out so they could make a decision if it's for them or not, really.
Amazing. And what you were just saying there around gravitating towards the things you enjoy and the things you sort of naturally gravitate towards. I mean, I'm going to take a punt here and say 16-year-old Rita would not have thought that you'd be the global service director for Mace.
Not at all.
How important do you think that is, though, in terms of, because there's a huge amount of advice goes to young people now about the pressure to know what you want to do and, know what your study path looks like, and maybe even your career 5, 10, have a 10-year plan, that kind of thing. But that gravitating to naturally what you're good at.
Well, I think it is about, you're going to have, I suppose, 2 or 3 routes here where you're going to know what you want to do. You want to be a doctor and it's great and you're really destined to do it, and you know your pathway is going to be university and you want to do that. But I think the learning in life is about those experiences of trying things out and finding your way to that place as well. And without trying things, you're not going to know what it is that you're good at and what you like. But I think nowadays, having that partnership with business and with schools for us to go out into schools and be able to say, well, this is what I do. This is great about my job. These are some of the challenges that I face. But actually, I really enjoy this and I love this. And that will resonate with young people. And equally, I think about seeing someone that looks like them or, is a woman in what may be seen or perceived as a predominantly male or male-dominated industry. So I think as individuals and for our future, we have that duty really to give young people that chance and choice. And I know that for me, young Rita at that age, having those people that are role models or coming out to speak to you, or even just mentoring or carrying out an activity in the community with somebody. It's having that, I suppose, mentoring by stealth as well, that you kind of think, oh, actually, I like this, I enjoy this, and I'd like to go and do this or give it a go. I do think that my advice to young people was take every opportunity that you get just to learn more about things and to give yourself the best choice.
And there's a real authenticity to that, isn't there? Because you've been there, you've done it, and you're not shying away from saying there are still challenges here. And I wonder whether we could dig into that discrimination piece a little bit more, because I know it's something that you're really passionate about. Has that, in your experience, changed significantly over time? Is there a huge amount more to do? Where do you see the current conversation around that?
Look, you see things that are happening all over the world at the moment, and you think, you'd think in this day and age it wouldn't be an issue, and I would be completely naive and if I said that. But I do think that we've got Gen Z and the alpha generation now. I think when they make choices, it's not going to be about the employer being in control here. I think this generation will be able to make a choice on whether they think an employer's ethics are right, whether they feel that it's an employer that's giving back to the planet and protecting the planet. So I do feel that they'll be in much more of a position and much more confident to tackle some of those issues, which is good. I think that's what we kind of need to channel and encourage. But also, I think with kind of it is about that mentality really, and that kind of imposter syndrome that maybe I've probably experienced as well because you kind of sort of almost give yourself that identity in terms of that sort of thought goes in your head. Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm female? And I think it's having it's creating that opportunity and not standing in your own way sometimes, I think, about thinking, and that's how I feel about, in the past in different roles where I've felt, I know this isn't right. This is what's happening to me here. And either I can let this kind of sort of define me or make me feel like I don't want to go on or continue with my career, or I'm going to fight it. And I think sometimes it is about, well, for me, it has been about, right, just carry on and move forward, really. And it is hurtful, and it is, it can sort of impact on the way you feel at the time. But I feel like the challenge, overcoming those barriers and those challenges, is rewarding. And I feel that, and you shouldn't have to work twice as hard. You shouldn't have to fight for, sort of kind of demonstrating or proving that you're the right person for that job. But I think it does, sadly, it does happen. It does happen.
And I think there's something about sort of value-driven career planning, right? Which, we're in schools all the time. We hear from young people all the time, and it is really important to them that where they're going to end up, where they're going to work, they feel like they're contributing to part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I think I've always felt that it kind of puts business on notice that this is what's coming down the track, and this is really important to people. It's not just about economic security or progression. It's about doing it in the right way. Is that something that you would agree with?
Oh, absolutely, I do. And I think that's why young people seeing that diversity firsthand in terms of interactions with business, even visiting a business place and looking at, this is, and this isn't just, when we talk about discrimination, it's not just about race. This is about the whole, disability, LGBTQI. I think it's very much about that culture of that organisation, and for young people to go out and feel that and see that. I suppose just to feel that this is a great place to work. I could be myself here. I don't have to be anyone else. That's where we want to be. And I think, we as employers, by coming out into schools, having this collaboration with education and parents, that to give each other that confidence that, we don't have to be, everything doesn't have to be everyone that can, that looks a certain way or acts in a certain way. We can make those changes and make this an accessible workplace for everyone. And, tap into all that talent that we've got out there that we wouldn't be able to reach. So we do have to think differently to do things better.
Yeah. And I mean, what you were just saying there around, because it kind of takes it away, doesn't it, from target-driven inclusivity, right? Yeah. So we must have a certain amount of females on the board, and it's like, okay, well, that might be a stepping stone, but really the goal is our environment inclusive and open, to everybody, and is it accessible, genuinely accessible to all?
Absolutely, and I think that's where sometimes there is that, I suppose, disillusionment really around positive action programs, for example, because I mean the sector I work in construction, there is huge amounts of underrepresentation for women. We're not there yet, for ethnicity, we're not there yet, but I do feel that so there is a need to make sure that those positive action initiatives do exist. But when we say positive action, it isn't about giving somebody a job because of who they are. This is about making sure that they see that opportunity, they've got access to that opportunity, but they still go through the same process as everyone else does. And really, it is about then that right person getting that job. But for a lot of communities and groups, sometimes they don't even get access to that opportunity. And I think that's what this is about, so that everybody has that accessibility. And for us as employers to make sure that we're not putting those barriers in place, through our, all those things around how we promote our roles or how we advertise and the kind of restrictions we might be putting on essential skills or desirable skills. Yeah. Are they really essential? Are they really desirable? Are we, omitting a huge number of people because we're asking for something that we don't really need? So I think it's that work that, and at Mace, we've done a lot of work around this. We've looked at, for example, our graduate opportunities. We've eliminated the need to have a 2-1 degree because we do understand that for whatever reason, sometimes, it could be in education and you might just have that blip. Something could have happened, a life event that stopped you from, getting the grade that you wanted while you were at university. Does not mean that you can't do this job or you can't have this graduate placement. So it's trying to be much more inclusive. And then things like we have an initiative at the moment for mentoring for care leavers. And it's not because we're trying to hit a quota or a number of, but I think we understand and appreciate that care leavers or care experienced young people don't have that support in their immediate family or network where somebody will say, oh, I've got this interview and I've got to do a video interview and somebody's going to be able to say, well, I know how you can do that. And so I think we've got that, commitment at Mace really to help and make that process, make them aware of what that process is and give them the same opportunity that other people would have that haven't got the challenges and barriers that they have, to give them the same opportunity, really.
Yeah, I love that way you break that down away from, we've got to hit a quota of this thing. And it really is, it's still a targeted program. It's still a targeted intervention based around the needs of the people you're trying to reach. But it's more about, I guess, breaking down the barrier rather than giving everybody a leg up because of this characteristic. Yeah,
absolutely. And we have we call employee resource groups within Mace as well. So it's across, we've got like a military at Mace, we've got women at Mace, we've got ethnic diversity at Mace, enabled at Mace, and also pride at Mace. So we want our people to have that opportunity to tell us, how we can be better and more inclusive, and also to hold us to account, to look at and review the processes and practices that we have in place, but also to help us reach out into the community and create a much more inclusive environment.
So that takes us on to this concept of social value.
Yeah.
And, I remember when I was coming through my career and engaging more with the private sector, I think at the time it was more CSR, I think was the term. Social value seems relatively newer. Could you give us a sense of what social value means, how it's measured, what's the benefit for a business engaging and investing in this?
Yeah, absolutely. For the construction industry, there is usually a requirement for contracts that they have to demonstrate how they're going to add social value. And
that's written into the contract?
It is written into the contracts. But for social value, in its definition, if you like, it's the social, economic and environmental impacts that a company or an organisation creates through operating its business, really, and the services it provides. So it's really giving back to that community. And it does get quite mixed up with CSR, really, because CSR could be, doing a charitable donation or just giving back, a little bit of volunteering here and there. But this is much more aligned with that specific contract. It's also aligned with, sort of real benefits, really, and lasting benefits. So it's much more meaningful. And if you look at economics, for example, and you look at use of a supply chain, so we look at having more of a diverse supply chain. So we are using more small, medium enterprises. We're also looking at local enterprises. So we're supporting the local economy around our projects. And then also looking at type of business entity and also the ownership of a business. So are they owned by a woman? Are they owned by an ethnic minority? Are they owned by somebody with a disability? So it's showing, again, that not only within our workforce and are we making sure there's diversity, but also within our procurement and supply chain and businesses that we use. And then another angle of social value is also looking at our future workforce, talent development, talent pipeline. So this is where that connection and our kind of sort of commitment to young people comes from, is we have a responsibility to shape our future generation and workforce. So how are we promoting careers in our sectors, within schools, within education? How are we helping young people to gain the skills that we need? And how are we telling them about them as well? So that's part of our social value of giving back and giving our time, really, and our kind of resources to sort of dedicate to young people, to give them those, those opportunities, work in those activities to help them make those informed choices.
So in terms of social value, I'm a layman, this is an abstract concept. How do you actually measure something tangible with this?
So with social value, it's historically has been measured in lots of different kind of ways. But I think there's the anecdotal kind of measurements in terms of how many jobs have we created from different projects or initiatives or with employers. How do we upskill our existing workforce? How many young people have we reached? So I think it is, first of all, I think it's important for us to measure that we're doing those things and how much of that we're doing. But then I think the next part of that is the quality of what we're doing. So, we develop lots of different case studies and initiatives. But what I like with how we measure social value at Mace is that we kind of look at the value to society and to those individuals, really. So when we measure education outreach, we measure it in terms of 4 levels. So we look at if we just go out and speak to a young person at a careers fair, that's great because we've given some information. But then we also look at the more interactions we have with that young person, they're actually 83% more likely to pursue a career and contribute to the economy.
And you know it down to that.
Yeah. So what we do then is we measure like at 4 levels how many interactions that we have with young people. And then we also sort of kind of value that in terms of a monetary perspective. So it looks at, the full-time life cycle costs of that young person because they've had that many interventions that how much they would contribute to the economy. Right. So for us, it's not just about that ticking a box and saying, right, we've gone out and we went to that school and we talked to them at a careers fair or we did an assembly. It's actually taking a much more a much more sort of multiple interactions with that young person to say, okay, we went out to that assembly, but 50 of those young people are really interested in working in construction. Let's go and help them do a CV and let's help them do a practice interview. Actually, then there's 20 of them that really still want to do this. So why don't we get them out for a work placement? So it's that continued kind of work and interaction with that young person to help them to get to that career of their choice, really.
And have you used the employer standards that the Careers and Enterprise Company use? Does that factor into any of your analysis?
Absolutely, because we complete our survey, and as a careers a Cornerstone chair, you would expect me to do that.
I hope so.
But I do think it's really important for us to assess and evaluate what we're doing is working, that we're taking on that feedback from young people, from education, from our representatives that are carrying out those activities, that it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing, really. So I think it's really, really helpful for us to look at those results and look at those areas that we can do better in, and also to carry on and doing the things that we're doing well in as well. But I think the other good thing about the employer standards is as a Cornerstone group of employers, we can look at it as a collective, right. And for the regions that we're operating in. So we can kind of take a view of, okay, we're doing well within our individual organisations, but collectively for Central London, for example, what can we now do to improve the kind of support we give for preparation for interviews to young people? Is there something that we could run, between us that's a big event that will help more young people access that support? So I think it'll help us to sort of target and focus action as employers, really. So I think they're great, and I look forward to looking at our improvement for next year as well, or for this year.
And I mean, obviously, this is where our collaboration has come in. You're chair of the Central London Cornerstone group, so you're heavily embedded in the system. So you've got a great vantage point on where the challenges and the opportunities are.
Yeah.
In terms of that, great aim of engaging with the future, engaging with you, trying to, shape those futures. Where are the challenges there? Because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, I think it is time. I think a lot of the time, employers do see some of this activity as quite time hungry. But I think it's the fact that what we're doing is we're working together collaboratively for the common cause, really, which is that we want to help young people, and we want to create a future workforce that's got the right skills that we need. So I feel that it is time well spent, and I think by sharing that responsibility across industries and employers leading the way in this, and also being able to talk with education and collaborate with education, we can support education to embed employment, careers and skills much in a much more positive way and informed way as well. So I think things like Teachers Encounter program, which we were very lucky to work with the CEC on, and becoming one of the pilot employees to work on that.
Yeah, how was that in terms of bringing teachers into the workplace?
I think it was really valuable, and I think again it's the other way around about that time away from the curriculum and teaching, isn't it? And thinking, oh, we've got this day with an employer, and I think they've got so much value out of that. They had exposure to lots of different roles and occupations within Mace, and different disciplines, and then they were really able to then kind of map it back into. We had physical education teachers, we had, like geography teachers, maths teachers. So it was great for them to see that connection into some of our commercial management roles and our planning roles about how much of part literacy and numeracy or geography plays in sustainability, that they were able to go back and say, right, we're doing this module today at school, but this will help you to do this job in the workplace. And they can confidently speak about this. And, and I know, please don't shoot me for saying this, but but I was going to say, sometimes there is, we look at teachers and we think they've been in education all of their life, and some teachers have had exposure to the outside world. And I think, so it's giving, for us to do that shadowing and that reciprocating that opportunity to look at the business world. I think it can only help them to do their job better, and it can only help us all to work together to help young people take their next best step, really.
I mean, we speak to teachers all the time, and I think one of the things that often comes up is they're being asked to do more and more. It's a really, really challenging sector to work in. There's huge rates of persistent absence. There's, they're not isolated from the society, right? So they're kind of at the front line of that. And then they're being asked to talk about construction, and they've never been to a construction company. Do you see what I mean? And I think that what Mace is doing, and I think lots of other organisations are now doing, by inviting teachers into the workplace, is helping us create a more joined up system, I think. And ultimately, what you just said there about preparing young people for their best next step. It's not arrogant enough to assume we know what that is, but trying to put more of that real world into the classroom, which hopefully raises both sides.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think, some of the initiatives that we've worked with and developed really around work placements as well, we're making our work placements much more project focused and much more interactive.
Yeah.
So when young people are coming in, I think there is that perception, probably from parents as well, because they probably had this like me, where
remember doing the filing.
Or just sitting with somebody and just watching them and thinking, thinking, what can I do here? So I think by what we're doing as employers now is making sure that we're sort of helping them to really see how this is and have a go and be able to feel that they're getting something from this to help them make that decision about meeting more different business representatives and having those business representatives work with them on an activity, for example, or could be, we have an activity called the Big Build where they have to use different materials to create a design. But during that phase, they learn about communicating, they learn about costs, they learn about sustainability, and they learn about, sort of the mechanics of building, engineering, all those different kinds of things. So there's so many skills that they may get in sort of technical skills, but it's also those soft skills that are really important that we look for as employers, because I believe you can teach somebody to do the job, but I think those skills about, leadership, communication, even sending an email or writing a message to someone and working with other people that aren't the same age as you. There's so many different skills that they pick up from that really gives them an insight into this is the world of work, and it makes that transition easier for them.
I think there's two things you picked up there that I think are really fascinating. I think one is around that concept of essential skills, because since that's really sort of taken shape in over the last sort of 5-10 years, and we use the skills builder framework a lot, as I know you do, and that's beginning to form a kind of coherent, consistent language for educators and employers Is that something you're noticing actually in terms of that now bleeding through into, the talent development programs and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think, when we have our new cohorts of apprentices start or graduates start, you can start to see that they are looking, they're much more able to work in a team and also sort of the presentation skills that I think we kind of expect those to be kind of good because of project work and things that they have to do.
But you say that, and I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think oracy and public speaking is, but it's nowhere in the curriculum. When you look at it, I was at a school not so long ago, and we were talking to a senior leader in the school, and we were talking about these essential skills, and we were saying, the senior leader said to me, that's all well and good, but there's more 19th century travel writing in the English curriculum than there is about public speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're looking forward to the curriculum review that's currently going on. Are you hopeful that there's going to be some changes on that front?
Definitely, because I think I always feel that careers is like that kind of, we've got a careers advisor and a teacher can do this on top of everything else that they're doing. Right. So I think building those essential skills into all parts of the curriculum are really important. And I think, even mixing up the different groups or abilities and different things like that is really, really important in terms of helping people to understand, I suppose, the diversity of people that they work with as well. And then in terms of things like, if I just talk about the recruitment process at Mace, for example, one of the things that they have to do for both the graduate and apprenticeship programs are take part in an assessment centre where they will be doing, undergoing a task that they have to present back to and contribute to and work with young people that they don't know. And then the other part of that is that they'll have to do a video interview. And that video interview does not give you time to correct what you want to say. It's that first go. So I think it's those kind of things now that the way employers recruit has changed. Yeah. So I think, in terms of things like, obviously CVs are important. That's one of the first things that, we ask for or look at. But I think all those different elements that we'll be assessing them for during that assessment centre, is there interaction with others? Is there innovation? Is there kind of thought around diversity, collaboration, communication? So there's lots of different skills that with leadership, that we'll be trying to pick out just from them carrying out that task, that we'll be able to pick up quite quickly. So
and I think there's something there, isn't there? We're at a point, it feels like we're at a point where educators and employers are starting to speak similar languages around these essential skills. Educators are obviously looking at how they can embed that further in the curriculum. Employers are looking at how they update their recruitment practices, and hopefully we're moving towards a point of convergence where it will be a more seamless kind of transition for those young people based on those essential skills. And I wonder whether there's a future-proofing element to this, because nobody knows what AI is going to do to, any industry, including the construction industry. But ultimately, we've all got a need for people skills, right?
Yeah, we have. I think I hope it doesn't go down to Obi-Wan Kenobi things that we saw in Star Wars or Beam Me Up and all those kind of things. But I think that human element is a bit. I think we all sort of kind of witness it, don't we, in terms of banks and accessing services that we need and everything. Sometimes you just want to talk to a person, so and sometimes it does need a person to drive and operate all of these things as well. So I think I do think those social skills and those essential skills hopefully will be sort of a thing of the continue into the future.
And you mentioned around apprenticeships, and I want to get into this a little bit more around the vocational routes into the industry. And you've also talked about the breadth of industry. And I know that many people think apprentice and think manual labour, trade, nothing wrong with that at all. But there's actually a huge range of apprenticeships and which encapsulates the breadth of this industry.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's so much choice in apprenticeships at the moment. And I think I am a very firm advocate of apprentices. And I think we have to stop, I think not as in us, but in the wider sense of us, stop, I suppose, undervaluing the importance and value of an apprenticeship, really. And it needs to be, it is a very credible route way. I think I think rather than being seen as in competition with going to university, I think it's a different pathway, and it's an equal pathway, and it shouldn't be undervalued, because I think for university, you want to go to university, you go to university, you've got some young people who've got a specific direction. They want to be an architect, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be a doctor. They know they go to university, and also people want to go to university for all sorts of different reasons. And also you can't, undervalue that social experience of going to university as well. I think it's great. But equally, you get all of those kind of independence really from having an apprenticeship as well. So I think that they should have that equal kind of weighting of a pathway into employment and a pathway into a career. And also that what you can get from an apprenticeship in terms of, firstly, you get a wage, you get money while you're learning, but you're also picking up that experience. You're also entering that workforce really quickly, so you're picking up those essential skills when applying those essential skills, and you're putting yourself in a really good place to progress within your career as well. So I think it's a really, really important and vital route that we as employers and we as the Royal We need to really start to sort of promote and kind of champion.
Yeah, and it's really refreshing actually to hear this from the employer side of things, because I know you champion both pathways, right? And for us as a careers hub, and I know we share this aim, it isn't about, trying to undermine the university route to make our life easier in promoting vocational routes. It's about presenting the information and helping that young person reach that point of transition with genuinely the information they need to make an informed choice. And the fact, would you say that the construction industry has kind of been ahead of the game on that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's what you mentioned earlier about the trades, really, about the fact that, being an apprentice was really kind of seen as a really credible way. It was the way that you learned. You got to sort of move up in the tools, if you like. Yeah. So I think there is, you're quite right, a much more appreciation of the importance of an apprentice to learn in a structured way,
right.
and have that kind of time-served progression within, in terms of becoming more skilled really in those trades. But it is currently, I would say in construction as well, it is applied across all of those professional roles as well, in planning, civil engineering, even architecture and project management, construction management. You can do a degree apprenticeship, so there's lots of, our apprenticeships at Mace, start from a level 3 upwards. Mm-hmm. And I recently personally completed an apprenticeship, level 7 apprenticeship in my role now. So, and I think that also that kind of, it's a 16-year-old that does an apprenticeship thing. I think that's also, there's nothing stopping you, if you go to university and then do an apprenticeship as well. There's all those different route ways into it. But I do think, like you say, it holds its own. It's in itself that route into employment and into a career pathway. So it shouldn't be, it shouldn't rival university. It should be equal to recognising it as a credible path into a career. And I think, again, it's a bit like, it's celebration, isn't it, of getting an apprenticeship, really, that it's not, you're in an apprenticeship, it's wow. It's oh, never mind, you got an apprenticeship type of thing, it's like, you got your second choice type of thing. Actually, it should be celebrated and given that value and recognition as, wow, you've got an apprenticeship. That's fantastic. That's amazing.
I mean, I have to say, I did an apprenticeship straight out of school. The idea of sitting in classrooms for 3 more years after sixth form, that was not going to happen. And I went and did this apprenticeship. And the essential kind of skills, going back to that I learned through that around communication, leadership, working with people of different backgrounds, different ages and so on. I think that's been the absolute cornerstone of my career. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have got that had I gone to university. And I think that, given different circumstances, I would have loved to have gone to university. I'm actually doing university now, doing it the other way. Yeah. But I think that there's something, what you're saying there around holding them in equal esteem.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have to say, in terms of my own experience, and I wonder whether you'd agree, has been the biggest shift I've seen from the education stuff.
Yeah.
When I go into schools now and speak to careers leaders, there's a genuine interest and excitement and will to want to do this. And I wonder what you think the role of industry is, that those employers who are really investing in this, and we know we've got foundation apprenticeships coming down the line, and that's going to be a really key thing. What is the role of industry, large and small, to get out to these young people and carry the flag for this?
I think, again, it's around accessibility and promoting them, to using different routes to promote those opportunities, really. And I think celebrating the fact that we've got apprenticeships within our organisation.
Yeah.
And I think if and we are, at Mace, we're absolutely proud of our apprentices. It's for us, it's a really important route to get talent, to help young people and others into of all ages, is what I meant to say, is into our industry and help and support them to get the skills that they need. So I think for young people, our message as industry is that we want you. It's like, and we also tell us how we can tell you about what we've got, really. So we do go out into schools and we tell you about them. We've got our websites, and young people are really savvy at the moment, as we all know, with digital media and social media. So I think for us, it's making sure that we're making it easy for them to access those opportunities, really.
And let's bring this on to young people then. So if there's a 16-year-old listening to this thinking, do you know what, there might be a place for me there, what would your advice be to that person thinking about it now?
I just say be bold. I just say write to us, tell us that go onto our website. If you can't see anything there, then we've got lots of options that you can contact us. So contact us, and there is that old-fashioned way. There's nothing wrong with. I think sometimes it's nice to have that little bit of intuition and innovation to say an initiative to say, right, okay, I'm really interested in this, and keep trying. Don't be dismayed if you don't hear anything. Just keep trying and contacting employers as well, and I think have your voice and have your say, because we don't get it right as employers all the time. We think that, we've put it on our website, or we go out and do these jobs fairs and these career fairs all the time, and we tell people about these things. So, but, we need to understand, what is the best way? Do we need to, get this out on TikTok? Do we need to get this out on Facebook, or whatever it is that that young people look at? What is the best way for us to tell you about these opportunities as well, so that we can future-proof making sure that we're getting the young people into our businesses, really.
So we're coming towards the end now. So we've discussed the challenges involved, and those will, I'm sure, continue, and we'll continue working on those together. But where do you see the case for optimism in terms of, you've got so much experience in this area, in terms of where we are right now? What are you looking forward to in the next few years?
I'm looking forward to the collaboration and continued collaboration between employers, education, parents and teachers to all take responsibility and accountability to support our young people and help them make the right decision for their careers, and ensuring that they're getting as much choice and information as possible.
Brilliant. Rita, it's been a great conversation. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Spotlight Talks. For more about our work, just search Central London Careers Hub.